Hi everybody, I'm going to let you guys filter in a little bit before I start talking about what's going on. Okay, so I'm hoping some of you saw my messages on Twitter and on Facebook today that I was going to do a short Periscope this evening. I promise I will actually make this one relatively short. I'm not feeling my best. I got a bit of a cough, and I don't want to stay up all night like I have been doing the last week. So anyway, those of you that saw, this is going to be about the website opentheprimary.org. I spoke with a woman earlier today. She contacted me via Twitter a few days ago. Unfortunately, I took my time getting back to her. I was, I've been very, very busy and trying to balance work and kids and everything like that. It's been hard to get back to people in a timely manner. Anyhow, I did get to speak to her today. She got some time to explain a little bit about what's going on, but time is of the essence, so I wanted to make sure I got this video out tonight, and I'm really counting on you guys and everybody that we're connected to get this information out, get people talking about this video, and get people on her site and speaking to everybody in California that they can and sending these messages out. What apparently is going on in California is that the no party preference registered voters are basically getting screwed. Full disclosure here, by the way, I'm from San Jose, California, originally born and raised. I moved out here to Nevada 12 years ago, so this is kind of near and dear to me. Much of my family is still there on my dad's side. My brothers, my sister, my dad, and his wife, they're all still out there, so this affects all of them, and so it affects me. And ultimately affects all of us because California is a huge state in the election cycle. Anyhow, the no party preference option, it covers approximately 4 million Californians. They're all registered, and that's like 24% of the electorate out there. They can make a big difference, but only if their votes are counted, and the way things are looking, based on the video that was released recently, the way the polls or the poll people are being trained, it would seem that there's some very clear voter suppression going on. Something about provisional ballots being handed out to people that are NPP instead of actual ballots that will be counted. In addition to that, there are two, I'm not exactly sure what they are, provisions or rules or something in the way that the elections are run there. One is, and bear with me here while I scroll to make sure I'm quoting the right things. It's Elections Code 15342. It prevents people from doing write-ins in California unless they're very specifically written in on the ballot in a very specific place in a very specific way. If you do it wrong, which they don't tell you how to do it, your vote won't be counted. The second one is Elections Code 8600, which sets a deadline of May 17th for candidates to file for write-in status. This is a little-known rule, and chances are that Bernie or anyone probably didn't know about this because nobody really talks about it. So most likely, no one has met that deadline, and there are essentially no write-ins available, making it a no write-in state through this technicality. Now, Secretary, let me see if I can get his full name here, Secretary Padilla, Secretary of State Padilla, is apparently the only person that can do anything about this. So what we want to do is get on this website. They've got his email address and some email addresses to CC, including Kevin Yamura from the Sacramento Bee. Copy and paste the message that they have there, change it, make it your own. If you want later, I can read off what I wrote, the way I changed this, and get the pressure on. Get Secretary Padilla to look into this, and if there is anything that he can do, which I'm being told that there is, get it changed before June 7th so that Californians that are registered as NPP can go out there and make their votes count. Hey, yeah, opentheprimary.com. It is, it's not .com, it's .org, and I'm going to show it to you again. Something very important that we discovered today while I was talking to her: if you don't type in the www, it doesn't seem to go to the page. I asked her to reach out to the person that's hosting our site and fix their DNS. In the meantime, just make sure that you're typing in www.opentheprimary.org. Did I write com? I'm an idiot. Sorry, guys. I'm not perfect. Yeah, that's great. I'm going to have to put something in the comments or change the title later if it'll let me. Okay, so I'm going to switch over so you can see the site again. I'm not perfect, please. Here we go. Alright, so as you can see, it is in fact opentheprimary.org. Make sure you've got the www there. Over here, it has a countdown to June 7th, and it has instructions. Now, if you scroll down, bear with me, I don't want to drop this. Okay, here we go. Scroll down here. There's a form letter already put together. You can basically just copy and paste this. Now, I was a little bit not quite okay with the wording on it. It's fairly aggressive. I know that we want to really put the heat on Secretary Padilla, but I'm more of the little bit of kindness goes a long way camp. It's up to you guys. You know, make it your own. Adjust this if you want, but make sure that the message is clear. Make sure that also you are CCing the people up here. Email Secretary Padilla, CC the Open the Primary people, and CC Kevin Yamamura from the Sacramento Bee. Because, yeah, you can copy and paste identically. That's totally up to you. Like I said, that just as long as you're making sure to get the message across, that's the most important thing, and it's getting to everybody out there so that they can see really who all wants this to happen. And it's more than just people from California. We want pressure from around the country, around the world. We want Secretary Padilla to know that everybody's in this fight, and it's important to all of us. We need to make sure that our California voters are able to get their votes counted. Switching back. I'll read to you what I sent. Give me a second to bring this up in the other page. Where did I put it? Okay, so I changed it slightly. I said Secretary Padilla. I don't do the deers. It's just me. I'm a little more straight to the point. I said, thanks to recently released videos, we know that poll workers are being improperly trained. Across the state, millions of voters are confused and looking for answers. Your state, my state of birth and home in my heart, is facing a political crisis of conscience. I'm writing to ask you your urgent aid. Before June 7th, please do what's right for our brothers, our sisters, our parents, and our children, and do what must be done to defend voting rights in California. Allow all ballots to be write-in, and set aside Elections Code 15342. Confirm that Elections Code 8600, which sets a deadline for candidates to file for write-in status, cannot suppress the First Amendment right of voters to choose. Pay for a hard count of all ballots with AB 120, and in parentheses, on April 29th, Governor Brown signed AB 120, providing $16 million of taxpayer funding for ballots and other costs of the primary. I'm going to ask my family to write in their candidate of choice on June 7th. Please, do not hesitate. Stand up for democracy now. Sincerely, Jason Yanis. And yeah, I wanted to point out a lot of people are getting my name wrong. It's pronounced Giannis. And I'm sorry, guys. I know you were trying to talk to me there. I was trying to make sure I got through all of that as quickly as I could, because I did promise that this was going to be a fairly short one. If you want to ask me your questions and point out what you were pointing out before, please do now. Why haven't I been on TV? I've had a few people try to contact me to interview me, but nobody's asked me to come on TV. I've done a little radio show, and it's the Corey Harrison show. Was on Utah. It was very, very brief. The write-in is, if they are NPP, I believe it's they have to write it in because they won't have Bernie. They won't have Democrats or Republicans on their ballots. Again, I was just informed about this today, so I'm still learning about it. But if they don't, yeah, they're supposed to ask for a crossover ballot. But the one thing to keep in mind is, with 4 million people there, they probably did not prepare for 4 million crossover ballots. There's a really good chance they won't have enough crossover ballots, so it makes a big difference if they can have these the ability to write in what they want in order to make their votes count. And I saw something about the Young Turks on there. I'll go ahead and let you guys know I'm planning, if things go the way that I think they're going, to contact the Young Turks and see if they will comment on our live feed during the national convention. I think the mainstream media is full of a bunch of shit, and I am extremely upset with the way that they handled the Nevada convention, of course. Yeah, they probably won't have enough ballots, which is why it's so important to have the write-in status available so that we can get around that problem. Sane Progressive, that one's new to me. I think I may have actually contacted them today in Twitter. I don't know about the suit to ask for more time. And somebody said something about Boxer. I really wish the chat would stay up here a little bit longer, because they disappear faster than I can respond. It would also be nice if I could move it to the top so that I could look at the camera while I'm reading. I feel like I'm never looking at you guys. Sweet. So I saw the original video of Barbara Boxer as she was walking out there. Honestly, I could not tell if she was flipping people off. I saw her blowing kisses very sarcastically to everybody. It was quite offensive after the speech that she gave. If she was flipping the bird to people, I honestly cannot say that I saw that. It might be there. I've seen the screenshots, and I don't know. It looks a little odd to me. I'm not saying it didn't happen, because she had some serious attitude when she was up there at the podium, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if she walked off there feeling tall as shit and flipping everybody off. I don't know about security. I didn't follow her to the bathroom, so I don't know where the hell she went, but I knew that she left with security surrounding her, and I never saw her again after that. No, I haven't watched the John Oliver segment. I believe I saw that last night, but by the time I found it, I was wiped out. Like I said, I'm not feeling so hot, and I've been staying up until 4 or 5 every morning for the last week and a half, even this weekend. As far as outnumbering the Hillary supporters, and you can see this in my feeds from Saturday, just looking at the way that the room was set up, it had 4 columns of chairs, groupings of chairs. 2 were set aside for the Bernie supporters, 2 were set aside for the Hillary supporters. From what I could see when at the beginning, when people were really excited, they had their Bernie or Hillary signs, and they were holding them up and cheering. There were 2 full, absolutely full rows of Bernie supporters, plus people standing in the aisles, plus people sitting on the ground because they couldn't find seats, all holding those signs up for Bernie. And if you looked past that, there was one more row that had probably about a third or maybe a half, probably close to a third of Bernie supporters that had overflown into the Hillary side. And then when the Hillary supporters all got riled up and waved their signs around, it was the one row plus what was left of that second row where all the other Bernie supporters had overflown. So based on that, assuming that people holding Bernie signs were actually supporting Bernie, it was pretty clear to me that the Bernie people outnumbered the Hillary people. Yeah, I think the final count was absolute bullshit. Even without the 58, yeah. How that's possible, I'm not entirely sure. It seemed very laissez-faire the way that they were handling the registration and passing out badges. An example, when we alternates were switched over, or when we were seated as delegates and we went to go get our badges, nobody took account for anybody that was there. It was a bunch of blank badges that were sitting around, and they just handed them out. Just anybody that walked up, they just handed them a badge. How they were keeping track of it, I really don't know. John Oliver cited PolitiFact, the same PolitiFact that has Ralston involved with it, who did the whole Chairgate bullshit. That's disappointing if that's what he did. Yeah, it's complete bullshit. What more do you want me to tell? Yeah, it seems pretty clear that they know what they want to happen. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up that video. I've got a couple of videos that I really need to look up. I'm still trying to learn Robert's rules, which is excruciating to learn via YouTube. Uh, Somebody recommended a movie that's hosted on YouTube. Oh God, I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but I need to watch that. Apparently, I need to watch John Oliver, and I want to get caught up on some of the rallies. Not Roberta's rules, Robert's rules. Yeah, unfortunately, it's really hard to prove anything as far as how many people there, because no one counted. That is the biggest thing that a lot of people aren't talking about. There was a voice vote done, and we all know it was bullshit, but the simple solution was just to count who's there, and no one did at all the entire night. And there was all the registration stuff that happened, people sitting there with their laptops or whatever, counting who was supposed to be there and handing out the pre-printed badges, but the reality was that there was never a head count done. There was never a separation of Hillary supporters on one side and Bernie supporters on the other side. There was never a roll call called. And it's fucking ridiculous. They came up with the numbers, as far as I understand, by counting who had pre-registered and who had registered that day. On Friday, there was a period between, I think it was 5:30 and 9:30, where people could check in early. That's how I got in there, and they're supposed to be taking the count of those people, and then all the people that checked in the next day. But the problem with that is they assume that everyone that checked in the day before was able to make it, and they also assume that the people that were able to check in that day, that they stayed, or that they were there, and they didn't count anybody that missed the check-in, or that checked in but couldn't get into the room before 10 o'clock. We've got the whole Free the 64 thing that going on because of the 64 people that were part of that minority report, but there are also over 100 people that said that they weren't even allowed to register beforehand because all of their information had been changed. People that were registered, that went to the caucus and registered as Democrats at the caucus, like I did, because I was independent, and I could not do anything. I couldn't attend the caucus unless I registered, so I registered right then and there. People just like me did the same thing, and then when they came back to the convention, they found, or at least were told, that they were no longer registered as Democrats. Yes, I like giraffes. There is a whole story behind all that. There are people before the 64 that couldn't even get into the building to be denied. They weren't even allowed to check in at all to begin with. They weren't allowed to register because they were told that they weren't Democrats. Tearing up the concrete and what? I didn't catch all that. What did you just say about tearing up the concrete and thousands of mice? What did that say? And yeah, if y'all want to start a new country, sure, let's try it. I think just doing away with the two-party system altogether would be perfectly fine. There's no real reason that anybody has to be part of a particular party that says, oh, we're for this, that, or the other thing. Why don't they just stand up and everyone can be independent of everyone else and say, hey, this is what I believe in, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to make happen, and then we'll vote for the person that we like best. And who gives a shit what party they're part of? That's right. It should be one person, one vote. We have the ability to do that now. We have the technology to back that up and really count every single person that is eligible to vote. So let's just vote for who we want. Fuck the rest. By the way, this is just seltzer water, in case anybody's wondering. I'm sure it can work here. Yeah, all I drink is seltzer water. Yeah, I'm sure that we could make a party system work here. It worked in the past. We need to give up on some of these antiquated ideas and rules and look at revamping the system so that it works with modern technology and modern ways of thinking. You know, there's a lot of good to be retained, but don't hold on to these things just because it's tradition, because tradition, you know, I talked about this before, like the Constitution, like the rules like Robert's rules. These are things that have a lot of tradition behind them, but the great thing about the way they work is that they're flexible. And we need our parties, we need our government to be the same way. We don't want to get stale and held up by traditions that don't actually apply anymore, that don't help anyone. You know, we've got to take a real look at the laws and everything that we're running our lives on and make a decision what needs to exist, what needs to actually stick around, what needs to be revamped, or what needs to be just completely removed. Could very well mean constitutional amendments. I sound like John Oliver. Okay. Yeah, nothing's going to change without a fight. That's expected. Okay, I promise I will look for the segment before I go to bed and give it a watch. I don't do accents, guys. Yeah, that'd be great if we had receipts so we could at least prove, you know, how we voted. Though doing a count based on receipts, oh, for fuck's sake. No accents. I don't do accents. It's not gonna happen. I don't do accents. Yeah, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I didn't watch the video. I've read about it. Yeah, I mean, it's like so many other things that have been going on with all of this, and just I'm finding new levels of disappointment. I was never really political before this. You know, I used to run a nonprofit. They focused on harm reduction within the Raven, the nightclub community. And that was about as political as I got. I would vote for the local politicians, and I would vote for the president every 4 years. And I didn't put a whole lot of research into it. I watched mainstream media every once in a while, got a gist for what I thought was happening, and that was enough for me. But I've, since becoming a parent and seeing just how terrible things can really be, I I couldn't stand by. I think in one of my posts to it's Anna. I don't know how to spell it. I don't remember her last name. I think Hache on Facebook. She posted something really beautiful, and my response to her included a message. The moment that I decided I wanted to be a delegate, I was at the caucus. My children were grabbing onto my feet or onto my legs, kind of hiding behind me a little bit because everybody in the room was loud. It had been very rowdy. We had one undecided person there, and we did the whole back and forth trying to convince him to pick one side or the other. So they were very timid. They were uncomfortable with the situation, and while they were doing this, they were asking for delegates because they needed people to volunteer because we just didn't have enough people to fill the slots that were available. And Angel turned to me and gave me that sort of look like, what do you think? You interested? And looking down at my kids, I thought to myself, this is the moment where I need to try harder. I haven't done enough in my life for them and for the future of everybody else. And so, I volunteered. And it's just kind of been, it's just snowballed from there. And I kind of just lost track of why I brought that up. Yeah, that's kind of upsetting to have to have your significant other be a delegate and then skip town when it was necessary to show up. Yeah, that first county convention, I had never experienced anything like that in my life, and I was jazzed. I was excited to be a part of what we were doing. I was extremely disappointed when I wasn't selected as a state delegate, but weeks later I got the message via email that I had been selected as an alternate, and I was thrilled. I let Angel know. I went and did the pre-registration the moment I saw the email, and we just kind of counted the days to go. And I had learned a lot from the previous convention, made sure that I had packed sufficiently for a very, very long day, which is exactly what it was. Ugh, that kills me. Yeah, the Jason Battery, yeah. Yeah, GoFundMe Jason Battery, right? That kills me to think that we had people that signed up, that put in enough effort to become delegates, not show up. And I'm sure there are legitimate reasons out there, but I guarantee that some people just got lazy or decided that it really wasn't important after all, and they couldn't have been more wrong. We all know it came down to such a small number. Oh, that day, I was juggling chairs the whole time. What you couldn't see was, as I was holding my tablet in one hand, I had the other hand just tossing like 3 chairs at a time. While saving my medic. The disenfranchisement of so many of us. It's excuse me. It's a serious problem because we can talk about people being lazy. We can talk about people not wanting to take part because they don't have a reason to, or they don't have somebody to get behind. But if we could convince people that this is more important than getting an extra couple of hours of sleep one morning or maybe 2 mornings out of the year for them, out of every 4 years. If we can get people to show up and participate, or even just, if they can't make it, if they know that they've got to work or whatever and they can't get the time off, when they're not working outside of that, work on spreading information, making sure people know what's going on, making sure the people that can show up are able to show up and know what to do, that they understand the rules and how the etiquette and everything works, so that when things aren't going the way they want, they can get up there and make a difference. See, you guys, this is why I'm saying I wish the chat were up here so that I can look at the camera and talk to you and still read what you're saying, rather than down here so that you're looking at the top of my forehead the whole time. Hello, Stephanie. Thanks. Alright guys, is there anything else that you want to ask tonight before I sign off? I'm going to try to do these Periscopes every once in a while. I don't think I'm going to be doing it every day. I can't really phone bank. I'm not home until like 9 o'clock at night most nights. And I'm at work the rest of the time. I get up at 7:30. I'm out. I drop the kids off at school. I'm at work by 9 o'clock, and most nights I'm at work until 7 or 8 o'clock. I usually go and get groceries for the day, come home, and that's what everybody uses to make dinner the next day. And I'm home by 9, so I don't really know how I would fit phone banking in there. Yeah, I have finally figured out how to pull my Periscope videos down so that I can post them immediately. I've also got the new SD card in the tablet so that they're all saved to that automatically, and assuming there's no like weird shit that happens to them. I've had 4 of them go corrupt on me already, but as long as that doesn't happen, I can post them up to YouTube as soon as I'm finished here. And hopefully fix the title so that it says .org instead of .com. Yeah, Stephanie, if you saw my video from yesterday, you know exactly what I deal with if I try to talk to anybody while they're awake. Good night. Tim Black and saying, yeah, same progressive. I'm almost certain somebody sent me their handle on Twitter. I'm trying to get a hold of somewhere around like 6 or 7 different people. And yes, you did it. You sent me their handles. Is it Kendallin? It's disappearing already. I wish the chat would stay up. Okay, so the idea we're working on right now, I don't know if you heard or if you guys saw, but in my previous video, Adrian, who runs oh God, this is how tired I am. I cannot think to save my life. Connected TV in Reno, I believe it is. She's agreed to send or to hook up at Bernie Volunteer and myself as basically reporters for her, so that we will have the press passes will be credentialed. We can get onto the floor. Isn't it Adrian or N? Yeah, Adrian Ashley. Adrian Ashley, not Audrey. I've made that mistake so many times. anyway, yeah, she's getting us credentialed. The idea is that she's going to be in Reno running her show. She's essentially going to be the anchor woman on the show while we're out there interviewing people on the floor and kind of going over what's going on. Basically doing the same thing that I was doing at the previous convention. Excuse me. And what I want to do is take both of our feeds and anybody else that we can get out there, send those feeds to... Don't be jealous. Just come with us. Send the feeds out so that we can get some overlays on them, get some live Twitter feeds showing up. So as you guys are tweeting what your comments based on what you're seeing, it'll be popping up right over our videos, and then send that feed or those feeds to Adrian and to other outlets. Be they online networks or even the mainstream media. I mean, I'm happy to send that feed anywhere that we can get it to, as long as we have copies of the raw footage too. Anybody that puts spin on it, we've got the answer right there. We've got the proof in our hands, and I want to make sure the more places that we send it, the more people that stream it, the more copies of the raw footage we'll have out there and available, so that nobody can take it all down. Even if they come to my place and steal my SD cards and destroy all my stuff, copies will still be out there. So we'll always have the footage of the real events as they happen. And that's why I am not copywriting my stuff when I put it up there. I am asking you guys... Bernie Supporter was saying that with Premiere, while she's, or maybe it's not Premiere, but while she's watching the Periscope videos, she's screen capturing the whole thing, so she's getting the recordings with your guys' chats, which I love. I want copies of all that. I want to be able to post that on my YouTube too. And then she's making clips and just spreading them all around, all the best parts, but I want to make sure that we have the full thing, the whole recording, every single time. And I promise, as long as I have a place to put it, I will put at least the copy that I have up there. Oh yeah, Jimmy, so the open primaries, I'm going to briefly go over that. If you want the really, really good details, watch the video from the beginning. I went over it all there, but essentially it's opentheprimary.org. I accidentally put in .com. It should be .org. There's voter suppression happening in California. There is a way for the Secretary of State to at least fix some of it so that people can do write-ins. We know about the non-party... Hold on, let me switch over to this here. So it's the no-party preference registered voters, the people that aren't Democrats, that aren't Republicans. Their ballots are at risk of not being counted. There's talk about, I'm sure most of you saw the video of the woman that said that she was being trained to run the polls, and they were telling her that any people that are NPPs should be given this provisional ballot. Well, provisional ballots often are not counted. And so all of those 4 million or so ballots could eventually, or could potentially just disappear. One way around that, and around the possibility that they don't even have enough ballots to cover the 4 million people that want to do the crossover ballots, which is the correct way for them to vote as NPPs, would be to make a write-in possible. So they could take any ballot they want and write in who they want, and it still counts. Now, there are two elections codes provisions that are making that impossible at the moment, and so what we're asking is for Secretary Padilla to basically strike those codes from the record and open it up so that they can vote for whoever they really want to vote for. The first one is Elections Code 15342, which just denies the ability to do write-ins unless you have it very specifically written in the right place, the right way, on the right ballot. If you miss any of that, and of course they don't give any instructions on how to write it, then your vote doesn't count. So if you get a ballot and it doesn't have a blank spot to put your write-in's name, there's a specific way that you're supposed to write it in. No one's going to know what that is because there's no instructions. So, people that want to do it, that think they can do it, they're going to cross out Hillary's name, or they're going to cross out somebody else's name, and they're going to write in what they think what they want. And that won't count based on that election code. The other one is Elections Code 8600, which sets a deadline for candidates to file for write-in status. That deadline was May 17th. It's a really, really good bet that nobody knew about that. None of the candidates knew about that because it's a little-known rule. And nobody talks about it. So chances are, as rigged as things may be, Hillary probably didn't even know about it. Bernie certainly didn't know about it. So I doubt that there are any candidates at the moment that have write-in status in California. So even if you did write it in, and you wrote it in the right place, and you used the right handwriting or whatever the fuck they want, it still won't count because the candidates didn't meet the deadline to have write-in status. So to make this work, both of those codes need to be struck, and then they can use AB 120, which was passed April 29th by Governor Brown, to use the $16 million of taxpayer funding that's allotted for ballots and other costs of the primary to do a hound count of all those ballots to make sure that these write-ins are counted, because you can't count it if it's written in and they scan the damn thing. So we need people to physically, using their eyes, count every single ballot and make sure if there's a write-in in there, it gets acknowledged. Yeah, and the last part about this is if you go to the site, and remember you have to type the whole thing. You got to do the www because their DNS server is not working properly apparently. It's www.opentheprimary.org, and there's a script there. You can just copy and paste it right into an email, send it to Secretary Padilla, send it to opentheprimary@mail.com, and send it to Kevin Yamamura from the Sacramento Bee, because we want the media to know that we're doing this so there's a record of it. And, this doesn't just stand for people in California. This is for everyone around the world. The more emails we send, the more pressure we put on the Secretary, the better chances we have of him actually doing something. Yes, it's hand-painted. That was a gift from a friend of mine a long time ago. Why not count the provisionals? I don't know the reason that the provisionals are even allowed to not be counted. It doesn't make any sense to me that there would be a ballot that you can cast that won't count. It's just ridiculous. It makes no logical sense at all. It's basically like saying, hey, little kid, here's a piece of paper, write down whatever you want on it, because we don't give a fuck anymore because you don't matter. It makes no sense. What's the point in having a ballot if you're not going to count it? We know from the past that the provisional ballots are often not counted. Again, I don't know why. I don't know why they even have them if they won't get counted. But we know from previous elections that it does happen that they just don't get counted. Yeah, like a placebo. Maybe it is used to placate people. By all means, you are welcome to change that script to suit your needs. Part of the way that the script is written is that it's written for people in California. Obviously, I'm not in California. I did use the script as a starting point, and I adjusted it to fit what I wanted to say. I also felt it was a little bit aggressive. One of the things it says is, "You will need our votes in 2018." I feel like that's almost threatening the secretary, and I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't think we should have to go in there and say, "Hey, you're not going to have a job in 2018 if you don't do what we say." And it technically goes without saying that if people don't like the way that he operates, then he's not going to get voted back into office. But we don't need to outright say, threaten him with his job. Let's just appeal to his human nature, perhaps. Yeah, we're the people. And yes, as a representative, he's supposed to listen to us. His job is for the people, so he's supposed to listen to us, yes. One thing we often forget is that we sit there and have a lot of things that we say, and we feel that we're this wave that is crashing down on these representatives, and it should be obvious. It should be blatant, because how can you ignore so many people saying the same thing? Well, what we're not saying is, well, who's saying something else to him? How many people are saying other messages to him or her or them? We aren't the only people out there. We're not the only people trying to sway the votes one way or the other. So try to keep that in mind. It's how's that phrase go? You catch more flies with honey. We don't have to be mean. We don't have to bully people in order to sway them. And in a lot of cases, if you try to bully them, they'll get defensive, and they won't want to help you for the simple fact that they know they're being bullied. They'll ignore the logic in what you're saying, and they'll just defend themselves and refuse to change what they're doing, no matter how obvious that it is what they're doing is wrong. Yeah, $100,000 worth of honey goes a long way. Something tells me we might get arrested if we try to use an electric fly swatter on the Secretary of State. We don't have a primary here. I have essentially already cast my vote for Bernie multiple times through the caucus system, which is confusing as hell. Wow. Why Bernie? That's going to have to be a video for another time, because I promised I was going to keep this one short, and I'm already probably about 40 minutes into it, which I swore I wasn't going to do. The short answer is that he's inspired me to actually be political, to be active. I told a story about choosing to be a delegate, looking down at my kids and realizing I needed to do more. That was inspired by what my friends had told me about Bernie, about what he'd done. And I started doing the research, and I saw his history and what he did as an activist, and I'm thoroughly impressed. Now, he's not perfect, and nobody is, but of the people that are out there, he's not the least bad candidate. I think he's the best candidate that we have, and the best candidate we've had in a very long time. Better than Obama, better than any of the Clintons or the Bushes, or going back to the Reagans and everybody back then. What has he done? He hasn't proposed a bill that is passed in the Senate in over 20 years. It's hard to make things work when people don't work with you and when the system is set up against you. Like I said, he's not perfect, and I'm still doing research. I'm still learning more. And radical ideas are tough ones to pass. But this is part of what we're talking about. The establishment is broken. And the only way that you're going to have real change is if you fight that system. If you radically change that system, you've got to push it. You can't, somebody said it, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. You've got to, I'm not saying be violent, by the way, don't take this the wrong way, but you've got to be willing to put it all out there. You know, there's a certain amount of decorum that needs to be followed because these are rules that exist for a reason, but there's a certain amount of dissent that has to be put out there. Okay? When things are not going our way, we can't just sit there and not be heard. We can't, in our heads, complain and not let anybody know what we're complaining about. In some cases, all it takes is making it known that something is wrong for people to realize that they're not doing the right thing. They may not have thought about it from your perspective. So you got to put it out there. You've got to make it known. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, get it out there. Make sure people understand. And if they don't understand, keep explaining it to them. And they, you know, if they walk away, they walk away, and they don't want to listen, fine. Excuse me. Go to the next person. But at least try. And that's all that I ask of any of you is, you know, don't sit there. Don't be the armchair quarterback. Get up if you have an opinion and make it known. Even if I don't agree with it. Because you guys are doing that right now. Some of the things you're saying I don't agree with. And that's fine. We don't have to agree on everything. We're never going to agree on everything. That would be scary if we did. But get it out there. Make your opinions known. And, you know, maybe we won't win. And that's okay. But at least we're making a difference. We are showing that there is a problem and it needs to be addressed. And somehow, some way, it's going to get addressed because we're not going to shut up until something is done. And that's regardless of who gets into office. I gotta remember when I do these Periscope videos to set the do not disturb. I wonder how many times you guys have heard little beeps and shit from my tablet. Alright, anyway, it's quieting down. It's really late. I've gone way, way longer than I wanted to go. So, I really need to log off and get this uploaded to YouTube. You guys find me on Facebook, find me on Twitter, FENYXFX, and make sure you go to opentheprimary.org, not .com, .org, and get those emails out there, let people know, share it. Like I said yesterday, it's It's great that we can talk about things amongst ourselves, but we're not going to make a difference if we aren't getting the messages outside of our bubble. Okay, we got to think out the box, outside of the box. We need to get in touch with our moms and our dads and the people that may not be paying attention to what we're doing. You know, our friends and our neighbors that may not be watching YouTube, that are sitting there watching CNN and MSNBC and Fox News. You know, just get these messages out to the people that it's not reaching on its own. All right, and that's it. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna shut the fuck up. I'm gonna go watch those videos I promised I would watch, and I am not going to practice a British accent. And then I'm gonna try and get some actual sleep for once. Alright guys, good night, and I'll get this video up as soon as I can and share it all over the place so that you guys can grab it and send it wherever you like. No accents. No accents at all. I'm from California, that's the closest thing you can get to an accent, whatever the hell that is. Alright, love you guys, have a good night.